Part 31. I need to make sure that everything's staying up to speed because there's so much information. So before we move on to the next part, let's think about some things. See, all these things in Revelation are subject chapters. The chapter itself goes in order, or the subject that it is talking about goes in order, but the rest of it overlaps, and that's what those timestamps are for in each one of them, to show you where they overlap. Like you've got all 7 trumpets. It doesn't tell you what's happening during the 7 trumpets, but then it lets you know that the 2 witnesses were during the 7 trumpets. And then, before the beast is even mentioned, it lets you know that the 2 witnesses came at the time of the beast, because the beast that ascends up out of the bottomless pit overcomes them and kills them. But what Revelation will do is it'll tell you a whole subject like this, and then it'll start the next subject with the understanding of it. For example, it tells us all about the resurrection through the people who took and didn't take the mark of the beast. The whole part of that where those were caught up, and then the final end where the rapture happens. And then it talks about all the evil people that would be thrown into the great winepress of the wrath of God. And then it goes on to talk about, the next chapter will tell you about the 7 plagues of the wrath of God. Revelation chapter 12 will tell you about how Satan did all of his things and chased the children of God into the wilderness. And then says that he went to make war with the rest of the saints. And then tells you about that in Revelation chapter 13. Because he gave his power unto the beast. So this is the story if you've been keeping up. In 66 AD, the 144,000 rose, Jesus Christ returned with them. Satan was cast down and chased the believers into the wilderness, and Satan was swallowed up, the earth swallowed up the flood, and that's the first resurrection, and that is Satan being thrown into the bottomless pit. But he gave his power to the beast, and the beast started in 66 AD too. So in 66 AD, the wrath of the Lamb starts, the first resurrection, the reign of Christ. Satan is cast down, the beast comes, and the armies come to Jerusalem so that they can wield the rod of iron to destroy the beast for 42 months. The believers fled into the wilderness for 1,260 days while the trumpets were happening. That's why you've got the 2 witnesses talked about in the trumpets. Right before the 7th trumpet, it talks about the 2 witnesses who prophesied for 1,260 days. And then they stood up on their feet. That was the rapture. Because the beast that ascends up out of the bottomless pit overcomes them and kills them. Because the rapture happens after the 1,260 days. Then the vials can be poured out for the last space of this 42-month war to destroy the temple. When the rapture happens, as we'll read as we go along, Satan is let back out of his prison. There are absolutely no believers on the earth anymore. Christ finishes his stuff, hands the kingdom to God, and then follows God to destroy the rest of it by pouring out the vials in the wrath of God. We had the wrath of the Lamb until the 7th trumpet, and now we have the wrath of God at the rapture. Stay tuned.